I told you, this is the culmination of a 2-year oral history arts project. I actually got introduced to this docudrama oral history process when I was a young, emerging, starting out director in Winnipeg, Canada. And I got introduced to the work by a company that came to the theater I was working at, Manitoba Theatre Workshop, from Toronto called Pass Marai. And they were touring Canada with a show they had created after living for a summer in the farmland of Ontario. It was called The Farm Show. And we produced it at my theater in Winnipeg. And I was just, the whole process of how they created the show totally excited me. And I have subsequently had the pleasure of producing and directing numerous projects based on oral histories. So I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself and say what role you had in this project.
Hi, my name is Martha. I go to George Washington.
Can you spoke each of the projects?
Hi, my name is Martha Stash. I go to George Washington High School. I'm a senior there. I was an interviewer and I interviewed Hal Rosenthal, and he was an amazing interview.
Yeah,
Sing out, please.
I said I interviewed Hal Rosenthal, and it was an amazing interview, and I learned a lot from it. And that's about it.
Who's Hal?
Hi, my name is Randy Hurwitz. I teach at George Washington High School, and along with one of our retired teachers, Barbara Siegel, who's out in the audience, we were the teachers who recruited the students when Deborah came to our vice principal at the time and asked if we were interested in this project, and how could you not be? It was a wonderful opportunity for our students to meet the senior citizens and learn about their lives and really grow from their stories. And I thank both Deborah, and working with Julianne was just terrific. We had a lot of fun.
My name is Joey Hensford. I'm a senior at George Washington High School. I also was an interviewer and a photographer. I took the photos for Hal. You can see later over there outside. Once again, it was really a great project, working with everyone and learning so much about the traditions and the culture and everything. It was really amazing. Very great experience.
My name is Lindsay George.
Louder.
I also interviewed and took photographs of people, seniors. I enjoyed it too.
My name is Corbin Abernathy, and I'm a performance artist and educator in Philadelphia.
It's absolutely amazing. You take a little bit of clay, you have somebody like Marva ask questions, you have someone write a script, you have someone produce a play, you've got fantastic actors. I've enjoyed myself.
I couldn't tell by your picture, you did.
I'm sort of laying down on the job there.
I'm Julianne Theodoropoulos, and I served as project coordinator the first year, and this past year I served as the playwright.
Julianne has been a playwright with Theater Ariel almost since the inception of our company, and has contributed a lot to our dramaturgy, the body of dramaturgy that's come out of our company. And I introduced myself at the beginning of the evening. I'm Deborah Bear Moses, the artistic director of Theater Ariel.
My name is Tatiana, and I'm a junior at George Washington High School. And I was Lana Tostic in the play you just saw, and it was an amazing experience. Really great learning experience, and so much fun.
I'm Aaron Oster. I was done a lot of different things on this. In the development process, working with the script, I worked with Julianne as the dramaturg, helping to figure out how to get this whole thing onto the stage. I was the director of the piece, and I was also the sound designer as well. So.
I'm Dane Wozniak. I'm also a junior at Washington High School. I played Jonathan in the play, and it's really my first play, and it's a great experience.
I'm Peggy Smith, and I played 20 different people in the play.
My name
performance you just saw.
I
Please.
understand there's one gentleman who was, I did a lot about the interviewees, but the interviewers. But who else other than this gentleman were interviewed? And what age bracket were they?
They just like picking on me, that's why they got me up here.
I'm just curious.
Well, all of the individuals whose photographs were taken were interviewed. There were probably about a half a dozen more people that were interviewed who we just didn't get their photographs taken. And they were from the membership here. They were also from Shar Shemayim and a few others that Deborah knew that were on the main line now that we gave a call that used to live here. And the ages ranged from, 55 to 102.
Wow. 102.
Esther Shapiro.
Yes, they
But I'm
still
under
come
that age.
here.
How did I get involved?
They still come here to the JCC. I mean, the JCC is a real important center.
30.
Sorry, I was one of the people interviewed. It was a wonderful experience to go back in your life from the time you were born, because I was born on Whitaker Avenue, till presently. And the person that interviewed me, I fell in love with her, and I listened intently because I heard someone say that I looked at the clock at Sears Roebuck. Now, I don't know who told who, but I know I told whoever interviewed me. I said, I get up in the morning, and I look out my window, because we were the only street, and Sears Roebuck with the clock was up the street.
I probably got it from your interview.
It was a culminating event for me to go through all this.
Thank you.
And you were great. It was great.
Thank you. The students were trained, unfortunately neither of the women who were involved in that could be here today, but two of our partners were the Center for American Jewish History, which is based at Temple University, and the Urban Archives, also based at Temple University. And two of their people, Nancy Iserman and Margaret Dorito, worked with us, and we created basically a series of questions that the students used as their jumping off point. And they were trained by the oral historians, so that before they met any of the interviewers, they were trained in traditional oral history interviewing techniques.
Yes, my question is, it's been a year or so since I've been in school, so I don't know. Is this part of your curriculum now that every student...
And they showed up on time. That's a big deal. And they really gave up their time. They came in after school. They came on Sundays. I mean, they really, went out of the way to engage themselves in this process.
Are tapes and/or printed transcripts available anywhere for someone who wanted to spend more time with this project?
Over the course of the next few months, Julianne and I are going to be pulling together all of the materials. The transcripts, the tapes, the photographs, copy of our script are all going to go into the Urban Archive Center at Temple University, and are exactly for that purpose. For people in the community and scholars all across the U.S. use that center as a resource center, as a research center. So it will be part of that permanent collection.
Kids at one time at Washington High School. Barbara Siegel knew Nora Levin well. As a matter of fact, went to Russia with her. Am I right, Barbara? So you see, the tradition does travel from one generation to another.
Any other questions?
It's hard for me to speak out.
I want to thank everyone up on stage. You're wonderful, and everyone in the audience who participated in it. Last year on Israel Day, there were two archaeologists who came from Israel, and they had shards for the children, and they encouraged the children to take these shards out of the sand, to put them together. And I thought of that tonight, because this afternoon, because you are putting together something that would have been lost otherwise. And I really hope that more people will either see it or will see it on the internet or will read it. And I hope more people will be encouraged to continue this project in various Jewish communities all over.
That's what
So
you were
thank you
going to
very
say.
much.
Yeah. He said that I wouldn't say.
I have a very short question. The young woman on the far left, you interviewed the revolutionary here, right? And did you get the questions beforehand? Did you generate your own questions? Were you given the freedom to generate any questions you wanted to, or was he unstoppable anyway?
Yes, yes, and yes.
At first we were given questions, and at the beginning I didn't know what I was doing, in all honesty. So I started reading questions, and then at some point I put the paper down and I just continued talking to him. So it was more freely. So he talked, I asked questions, and I responded. So it was more just two people having a conversation rather than an interview.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
It's a wonderful
And the follow-up question.
Normally I'm shy and retiring.
Thank you. And the follow-up question to that is, how much creative freedom did the writer take, because it was so flawless, to put it together?
Nice compliment.
Very nice comment.
It's kind of an unanswerable question. I mean, I felt creative freedom from the beginning because I don't know why. I just, I knew that there were these stories, and I wanted to pay homage and pay respect to these people who had shared these stories and to the history of this community. At the same time, when you have strong parameters like that, it's a discipline, and within that discipline, the way I work is that I know my parameters, I know what I cannot do, but there's all of these things I can do. And a lot of the creative part of it came very late when I ended up with my director, Aaron. You don't know what you're going to do. And you go through and you sort of just, at first, I went through a process. At first I went through and I just highlighted everything that interested me, and mainly specific things, which would give me a feel for the history and for the people. And then you start to organize it, as you would an essay, as you would any piece of writing. You would organize it into subjects and themes, and so you know what you're dealing with. And then you have to start to think about, okay, I could just write an essay or a novel, but I'm not. I'm writing a play. I want it to be an experience that the audience will be engaged in. And they will not be engaged in a lecture. They will not be engaged in mere narrative. So then basically I met up with Aaron, and we kind of came up with some tricks of the trade, basically. You know, what different variety of ways can we take this material and make it engaging? I mean, there's, you know, if it's in the past, you try to put it in the present. It's always much more interesting to watch something happening at the time that you're watching it than hearing about it happening later. Sometimes hearing stories are wonderful, but you put those stories in the context of an immediate happening. I mean, it's just a kind of, it was a puzzle. It was a puzzle that kept on coming up with, you know, more problems to be solved. And until some of it I wrote. Some of the dialogue are really written right from me, because I did need to make a through line. And so it's, you know, you can go through it page by page and say, well, that's directly from the story, that's directly from me, and some of it was sort of, it became its own thing. It started speaking to me after a while.
And one of the things that evolved over the process was the awareness that because the interviews have been done by students and the photography had been done by students, and the students really were in many ways the soul of the project, it became real apparent that the students' presence was needed in the piece on the stage.
Students weren't Jewish.
You
Of course,
also had a good subject matter.
Absolutely.
Because when I moved to the Northeast in the early 1950s, it was post-war, the homes were being built, they were all back from the service, we were all having babies at the same time. It was a birth of a neighborhood. And we were in similar ages, and we were family, and we were so grateful because there was a shortage of housing and clothing, and we appreciated everything we had. thing, I don't know if anybody mentioned it. There was never such a thing as an air lighthouse. It's the most unusual architecture. Because we have this three bedroom, one bath, it was mentioned in the play, and a garage and a little lawn. You had everything in the 7990 house. So, the subject matter was marvelous. The memories are sensational. I'm sure every interview you had was a pleasant one. Certainly that.
It's kind of a truism. Everybody, I mean, I find this obviously not just here, but everywhere. You guys probably know this just as well. You know, everyone has plenty of stories. Everyone has plenty of stories and plenty of history inside them. It's just a matter of listening to it or asking to hear it. And a lot of times, I know that. I mean, that's why projects like this are so important, because very frequently that history dies with us when we go, unless somebody says, "Hey, can you tell me about that?" And then it comes out. And that was the joy. You know, talking about the heart of the project or whatever. I mean, that you know is really the spirit of it, is being there to listen and witness, and then just give it back to you guys. And you know, even if it wasn't your exact story, there were probably parts of it that sounded like your story.
We lived it.
Yeah.